Hello and welcome to part 4 of module 3 of the Summerhill Online Academy IELTS Writing Preparation course. And in this section, we're going to go ahead and look at more tricky examples of IELTS Writing Task 2s. And then we're going to take a look at paragraphing in more detail. In this module, we're also going to take a look at tone and how tone is very important for extending our answer to a band 8 or more in task achievement in IELTS Writing Task 2. So let's go straight ahead and take a look at an example of a very, very tricky question in IELTS. Here's our academic IELTS Writing Task 2 question. The threat of nuclear weapons maintains world peace, and nuclear power provides cheap and clean energy. The benefits of nuclear technology far outweigh the disadvantages. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So in this question, we have a context, which is the first sentence here. The threat of nuclear weapons maintains world peace, blah, blah, blah. And then there's this statement, this prompt statement. The benefits, right? The benefits of nuclear technology far outweigh the disadvantage. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Now, in the very first section of this module, we looked at questions that have an or in them. And we already mentioned that when we have questions like this, it is entirely possible to choose a type B answer. We can 100% agree or we can 100% disagree. But when we take a look at this question, it would be very difficult to just have an opinion where 100% we believe that nuclear technology has just a lot more benefits, or that nuclear technology just has nothing but disadvantages. And there are many IELTS questions like this. For example, IELTS once asked, what do you think is more important for success, friends or family? Now, when we think logically about that kind of question, we know that that success depends on both friends and family. And maybe you would think in some cases friends are more important for success. Sometimes family is more important than success. But to make the statement or hold the position that 100% family is more important for success or 100% friends are the most important for success, it would be very difficult and maybe even illogical to assume that there are no disadvantages of nuclear technology or there are no benefits to nuclear technology in this particular question. There are obviously both advantages and disadvantages to nuclear technology. So while it is entirely possible for us to be 100%, I believe there are more disadvantages or I believe there are 100% more advantages, a more logical approach, and actually easier approach, is to have a balanced answer and choose a type A essay for this do you agree or disagree, and in this case spend half of the essay talking about disadvantages and talk about half of the essay about advantages. And this is actually much easier to brainstorm. This approach is much easier to write because it's much easier to find advantages, disadvantages of such a neutral type of question. And many of these do you agree or disagree are fairly neutral questions in the sense that it's entirely logical and reasonable for someone to choose one side or the other, right? So here's an example of our IELTS Writing Task 2 essay that answers that particular question. So let's start with the thesis statement. Despite considerable hazards and long-term environmental consequences, nuclear technology, including nuclear-generated power and weaponry, offers humans the only sustainable source of renewable energy and a tested formula for maintaining global hegemony. Again, when we take a look, our thesis statement has predictors that will predict the structure of our essay, in the sense that we're going to talk about both positives and negatives, or in this case, negatives first and then positives afterwards in respect to nuclear technology. But we're also not, this thesis statement is also not general. It has predictors which specifically outline what the focus of each body paragraph is going to be. So let's take a look at these body paragraphs. And again, the body paragraphs follow the structure of the thesis statement. So let's talk about the disadvantages first. Ever since the introduction at the end of World War II, nuclear power has revealed itself as a source of destruction, environmental damage, and uncertain future costs. In addition to wiping out millions during the devastating bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, attempts at harnessing nuclear power has resulted in multiple catastrophes, such as the explosion in Chernobyl and Fukushima, which continue to make these locations inhospitable to humans. Even now, nuclear power plants around the world annually churn out tons of nuclear material, the storage of which has no measured and foreseeable results. What's interesting about this thesis, this paragraph, is that the topic sentence of this paragraph, and again, we've mentioned before that each paragraph must have a clear topic sentence, and the supporting sentence need to support the topic sentence. We can see that even the topic sentence has predictors, in a sense. So the predictors of source of destruction coincide to the examples of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the environmental damage, and again, it coincides with the disasters in Chernobyl and Fukushima, and the uncertain future cost, referring to the problems with the storage of the nuclear weapons and nuclear waste. But even the topic sentence, in a sense, has a predictor clearly outlining the structure or the details of what will happen in the body of the paragraph. This is not entirely necessary, but again, it's an example of a good paragraph in the sense that there's a topic sentence with predictors that will tell us what the body paragraph will be about, with clear support. Looking at the second body paragraph now, looking at the advantages, yet it is hard to capitulate to these drawbacks and face a future without nuclear technology when its present employment in nuclear power and weaponry continue to provide humanity with its most needed demands. For starters, despite its volatile nature and susceptibility to accidents, nuclear power provides people with the cheapest and the most bountiful energy around. No substitute has yet been found, apart from dirty fossil fuels, which can provide as bountiful of a surplus of energy as nuclear power at present. More importantly, nuclear weaponry and their presence in the hands of a few world leaders continues to dominate the stability and political standstill of the world stage. Once again, there's a clear topic sentence, and that topic sentence also has predictors that will predict the arguments or the support for that topic sentence in the body of the paragraph. Moving finally to the conclusion. And as we mentioned before, a good conclusion can include predictions about the futures, more opinions in a sense. And here, the question did ask us to choose, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? And in the conclusion, even though we have a neutral position in a sense, that we're really balancing both of these ideas because we have a type A essay, we can still choose one over the other, with its advantages clearly surpassing its disadvantages, and with the need to continually rely on nuclear technology in the contemporary world, it is hard to ignore nuclear power as a technology that will see long-term use as a power source and weapon. So that was an example of a question that could have been answered in a type A essay, but can also be answered in a type A essay. I mean, it could have been answered in a type B essay, but here is an example of it being answered in a type A essay that balances both choices and not just fully agrees or disagrees with the prompt. We're going to take a look at another question. Many working people get little or no exercise, either the working day or in their free time, and have health problems as a result. Why do so many working people not get enough exercise? And what can be done about this problem? In this question, once again, we have problems and we have solutions. So again, we could have chosen two types of essays. We could have chosen the causes and the solutions, right? Or a type C essay with causes and solutions. And for me, the safest approach always is a type A essay. So in this type A essay, I'm going to talk about both sides equally, which again justifies the point. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example. So once again, we have a type A essay with two body paragraphs. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Physical activity is very important in order to stay healthy and live a long, happy life. Unfortunately, a lot of people do not practice it regularly during the working day or in their free time. This essay will explain the reasons why many working people do not get enough exercise and provide a solution to this problem. Now, this is an example of an essay that doesn't have a thesis statement that plans with a predictor. And many programs and many examples that we can see on YouTube, on the internet, do not show that thesis statement approach. This particular essay starts with a general paraphrase of the question and then just predicts that this essay will explain the reasons for this and that. And it's very general and global. Okay? And when we look at this, we can see the topic sentences of each body paragraphs, because the topic sentences of each paragraph are also quite global as a result. Everyone who has a full-time job knows how tiring and busy their lives become. Often we simply don't have time during the working day to exercise, and the energy to do it is in free time. As we grow older and have our families, our days become even busier and full of small daily tasks. In my opinion, too many tasks at work as well as in personal life make most people too tired and overwhelmed to perform any sort of physical activity. Again, we can see that the ideas in the body paragraphs are a lot more general now, because we didn't choose a thesis statement with clear ideas, with clear predictors. When we do that, the body paragraphs become a lot more global, and the answers that were and the justifications for our ideas are also quite global. Here's the second body paragraph, shows solutions. I think there are few possible solutions to this problem. Again, the topic sentence is very general. There are no predictors here. Firstly, employers should provide their employee gym memberships as part of their benefits package, which can significantly contribute to the popularity of physical activity among employees. Alternatively, city governors should run campaigns educating people about the importance of exercising and maintaining healthy habits. I think it's very important to increase people's knowledge and awareness about this topic. Even the last sentence, it's very global. So when we take a look at it, this is a good example of an IELTS Writing Task 2. It is a good example. But we can clearly see that the body paragraphs are not as focused. And the difference between focus in the body paragraphs will ultimately separate the essays from just being a band 7, which is totally fine for most of us, to being 8 and above for task achievement. Because when we think about approaching a band 8 or above in task achievement, the main thing we want to do is avoid overgeneralizations. So when we take a look at our band descriptors, yes, we have addressed all parts of the task equally, but as we can see in band 7, it says, presents a clear position, extends and supports me, but there may be a tendency to overgeneralize, and or support ideas may lack focus. And when we think about what overgeneralization is for band 7, right? We are talking about things equally, but in order to get into a band 8, we have to avoid overgeneralizations. Now, what exactly are overgeneralizations? To understand what an overgeneralization is, first of all, we need to think about critical thinking. Right? And critical thinking means this skeptical approach to how we justify particular answers. And one way to understand that is to see the difference between facts and opinions. Right? A fact is something that is true, and an opinion is something that we believe. Right? But what is an argument? An argument is a sustainable opinion or a hypothesis that can be proven to be true or false. So, in essence, an argument must be testable. To understand what an argument is, so when we think about the thesis statement of our essay, it is going to ultimately be an argument, not just an opinion. Right? And it's going to be a sustainable opinion. Right? So basically, what we mean here is a sustainable hypothesis isn't just a belief. For example, I could personally believe in the existence of the flying spaghetti monster if I were a pastafarian, let's just say. And that would be fine. You might agree with my beliefs in the flying spaghetti monster as the grand deity which has created life, or you may disagree with that idea. But you could not prove or disprove my opinion. Hence, this would not be an argument. I could not make an argument in asserting my belief in the flying spaghetti monster. Right? An argument has to be sustainable. Which is why in an IELTS Writing Task 2, we need to find evidence to prove that argument. That proof can involve experts and authorities if we've heard something on television or heard on the radio, or we read books or we have done some research about experts or authorities in particular fields. Right? We can mention their names and their theories, for example. We can show examples and illustrations, right, from our own experiences, and also show precedents or examples from history that did something. Again, personal experience is great, but personal experience could also be quite general. For example, you could show personal experience, of course, differs from one person to another. So what might be true for you may not be true for me, and vice versa. So we have to be careful what kind of personal experience we use. And as if I haven't mentioned already, facts, statistics, and examples like percentages, and I have seen some students and candidates who include percentages and exact statistics to show proof for the existence of particular or as a support for their ideas. But truly, in an IELTS testing setting, we do not have access to any citation material. We do not have access to any articles or any materials that can give us those statistics. So do not use statistics and figures, numbers, and percentages in the body of the IELTS Writing Task 2 essay, because it is clear that these are made up anyway, and in many ways they are not true. So putting in those false statistics and numbers actually detracts from your score and keeps your score below, like around 7. Again, around 7. It wouldn't get you to a band 8 in any way. So avoiding common generalizations in general is to, first of all, avoid those oversimplifications. And oversimplifications are everywhere, all around us. For example, we could have heard this from our parents when we were growing up: if you don't get a college degree, you will not find a good job. Right? We've heard that. Many of us have chosen to get college degrees, or we've chosen to study because we want to have good jobs in the future. But we know that this is not 100% true. Otherwise, we would not have people like Bill Gates or Stephen Jobs that were quite successful throughout their lives but didn't really do a lot of school. Right? If you eat junk food, you're going to get fat. Again, these are oversimplifications, right? And as mentioned, personal experience could be a good thing to add as proof in IELTS Writing Task 2. But again, what might be true for one person may not be true for another. For example, I know one person that gets they gain weight very quickly when they eat anything junk related. But I do know other people that eat a lot of junk food but stay quite slim because of their genetics, because of their metabolism, or any other reason. So simplification, those global ideas are overgeneralizations that would take away from your ability to get a band 8 in IELTS. If you marry a good man or woman, you'll be happy. Overgeneralizations that may not always work. And we'll talk about how to modify these kinds of opinions and generalizations into less generalized ways later on in this module. Also, very common is the misuse of cause and effect. So there are times when candidates will sometimes show a casual relationship between two things when there really isn't one. For example, this graph is an excellent idea. This graph is actually based on fairly real numbers. So as we can see that over the last hundreds of years, global temperatures have been rising. And at the same time as global temperatures have been rising, the numbers of pirates has been falling. Clearly, we need to increase the number of pirates in order to combat global temperature rises. Again, we're seeing two things that happen at the same time, but they have no cause and effect relationship. So again, when we present evidence which does not have a cause-effect relationship, but simply two events that happen at the same time, again, we're making a global generalization. Another very common overgeneralization is called circular reasoning. For example, I think global warming is harming the environment because it is causing the whole planet to get warmer. Now, what we see here is we're just repeating the same thing over and over. Global warming is the idea that the whole planet is getting warmer. So it's really circular reason. I'll give you another example. I love pizza because it's a delicious food. Loving any food is a subjective experience, and so is the experience of finding a food delicious. So again, we're looking at these global generalizations, and avoiding those kinds of generalizations in IELTS Writing Task 2 is really, really the key. So in order to combat these generalizations, one certain way of definitely avoiding generalizations is paragraphing. And not just any paragraphing with a focus. You can still write a paragraph and full of generalizations, but writing a focused paragraph can often help us to avoid those global generalizations and can elevate our score from 7 to 8 due to the support and focus that we provide in supporting our main ideas. So we know that every paragraph needs to have a topic sentence and supporting sentences, right? Just going through this again, there should be a topic sentence. All the sentences have to support the topic sentence. There has to be enough information to support that topic sentence. So we can't have a 2-sentence paragraph, for example. The sentences should be organized with cohesive devices, transitions, subordinations, and conjunctions that allow the ideas to flow logically, right? So let's take a look at a few paragraphs and think about this checklist as we read it. So here's an example, and again, these are paragraphs that I've seen written by candidates, some of my students. I've seen these around in the past, so I just pulled some of these. Of course, I'm not mentioning names. I think technology has really helped us with economic progress. In the 50 to 60 years, technology has improved our economic progress a lot. The biggest part is the online shopping. Everyone can buy everything on the internet. Many people are also able to make their income online, and in terms of sales, people use machines to increase their income. They also contribute to the development of the economy. Overall, the rapid progress of technology has increased the economy a lot because people are using technology to design, build, and sell everything, and most jobs today require the use of technology somehow. And again, there are a few grammar and vocabulary slips in this particular example, but we will ignore it because it is a natural example of something a candidate might write in an IELTS writing task too. So first of all, let's ask ourselves, what is the main idea of this paragraph? Is there a main idea? And I guess in this paragraph there is a main idea. I think technology has helped us with economic progress. So there is a clear topic sentence. But has the author proven the main point? There seem to be quite a lot of examples here of online shopping, of the machines that they use, of just overall for designing and sales. And again, we use technology a lot. But we have to ask ourselves, what is the relationship between economic increase and technological usage? Clearly, this paragraph shows many examples of the modern use of the technology, but there is really no logical connection between economic progress here and usage of technology. This is a classic example of a cause and effect misuse, as again, we're just showing two things happening. There is an increase in economic progress in developed countries, and those countries have more technology these days. But this paragraph has not proven that relationship, simply stated those two ideas side by side. Again, this would be an example of an overgeneralization that would not allow us to consider that response or that paragraph for a band 8 or higher. Let's take a look at another example. I think technology has helped to improve people's lives. First of all, technology has allowed us to improve communication with our friends and families. While we had to rely on face-to-face communication and writing letters in the past, we can now communicate with our most loved ones even over long distances using our cell phones and apps such as Viber, Facebook, and Skype. Second of all, technology has improved our ability to travel to many parts of the world. With our newest and fastest airplanes, bullet trains, and cars, we can travel freely within our countries and to almost anywhere in the world faster and cheaper than ever. So let's consider this paragraph. Would this be a band 8 paragraph? How focused is this paragraph, we need to ask? Well, first of all, let's take a look at that topic sentence. I think technology has helped to improve people's lives. Truly, yes, this is a topic sentence, and all the sentences do support that topic sentence. But what is the connection between transportation and communications technology? These are just examples of technology that help us. We could have in this paragraph equally used things like helped us in cooking better, helped us in maintaining better health, helped us in trimming our toenails or brushing our teeth. There is no relationship between these ideas. And because the topic sentence is so global, technology has improved people's lives. How new and surprising is the information that we're finding here? I mean, wow, technology is so great because we have cars and trains. Wow, and we can use cell phones to communicate face to face. None of these ideas are very surprising and interesting. I mean, how excited would you be to read a whole essay like this with these global ideas that are so commonly understood and not particularly surprising for us? Now, it doesn't mean that we have to be very surprising and provide extraordinarily surprising scientific studies, but there is no focus. Even when we're thinking about any one of these points, such as using a cell phone for communication, we could have spent the rest of the paragraph focusing on communications technology, expanding maybe the emotional connection we might get with communications technology, the safety that we get from communications technology, our resilience to crises such as pandemics with communications technology, instead of moving to transportation technology, which just moves us more into what we can see are just very general ideas, not very supported general ideas. Once again, this wouldn't qualify for a type band 8 essay for task achievement. Okay, so paragraph focus is very important. Right? So the topic sentence of each body paragraph radically transforms the interest. Right? So we could the paragraph we just read just basically meant technology has many benefits. But then the supporting sentences for that paragraph would be quite global and not particularly interesting. Now, if we focus into a more interesting topic, such as technology improves public health, our body paragraph will be supportive of much more focused ideas. If we go even beyond and say technology improves the quality of life during old age, we're even more focused about the examples we will show for supporting that topic sentence. So in essence, the focus of the topic sentence will determine how focused your body paragraphs will be. Let's take a look at another example of a paragraph. Canada has many problems with resources these days. Even though it is a very young country, it has been exploited for resources for a relatively long time. Also, the population is increasing rapidly. This means that there are more resources needed every day to make up for the growing population of immigrants from all around the world. One of the most important examples is crude oil. Recently, the Prime Minister of Canada has approved new pipelines to be built across forests in Canada. Therefore, this will cause a lot of harm to the environment. Again, let's take a look at that topic sentence. Canada has many problems with resources these days. Again, as we can see, that topic sentence is quite global. So instead of supporting sentences that are focused, we have many supporting sentences that talk about different natural and unnatural resources that Canada has. So we're giving a lot of different short examples, but none of those little examples are given a lot of support or extension. So extending and focusing our paragraph, that would be a great difference between a band 7 and a band 8. So this would be an example of more of a band 7 once again. Let's look at another example. The continued exploitation of natural resources continues to be a problem in Canada. For example, the Canadian government has approved more pipelines to be built across the country. This means there will be a greater danger to the environment and people. In addition, natural gas continues to be taken out of the earth. This means that CO2 emissions will increase at astounding rates. Also, a lot of land is used for farming. This means there will be less room for nature. Most importantly, because of a lot of trees are being chopped down, there will be less space for wildlife to survive. Again, the topic sentence is more focused at this point because we are talking about natural resources. So instead of just talking about resources in general, this paragraph talks about natural resources. And again, the supporting sentences for this paragraph are a lot more focused as a result. Let's look for another example. Canada's continued exploitation of crude oil through the use of fracking continues to be a problem for the economic and environmental sustainability of the country. First of all, because the prices of crude oil fluctuate wildly depending on the political and economic status of its Canada's neighbors and trading partners. The Canadian economy continues to be dependent on factors outside of its control, despite its relatively domestic stability and developed infrastructure. More importantly, because the majority of Canadian oil can be accessed through fracking, a process involving the systematic pollution and destruction of large stretches of land, there is no doubt that investing in crude oil extraction will result in long-term environmental damage of unseen threats to future generations' settlements. Again, there are some grammar slips in this particular paragraph, but you can see that there is a lot more focus in that topic sentence. And because of that focus and the extension and support for that very focused topic sentence, this would be a band 8 or above in task achievement, even if there are slips in grammar for IELTS Writing Task 2. So again, we can see paragraph focus depends on the focus of the topic sentence. So one of the best, absolute best way of avoiding overgeneralizations is to focus those topic sentences. And as we saw earlier, when we have an essay, a writing task 2, that does not have clear predictors in the topic sentence, and instead relies on that popular use of the paraphrase and then agree or disagree formula that we see in a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of lessons on the internet that we can find. What ends up happening is the body paragraphs of our essays become quite general as well. I should also mention that not writing a clear thesis statement with predictors may cause candidates to get confused or go off topic, because after all, this is a timed assignment. You are under pressure, you get nervous. So having a clear thesis statement with predictors will most likely keep you out of trouble. Again, paragraph focus is entirely dependent on the focus of the topic sentences. And if the topic sentences follow the predictors of a thesis statement, the paragraphs end up being a lot more focused. However, it's not just about the paragraph focus that we need to worry about when thinking about overgeneralization. A big point here is using academic tone. So when we think about academic tone is the language of probability. It is the language of academia. It is the language that academics use, or people who study and make assumptions about the world use, which again avoid overgeneralization. And again, when I think about academic tone, I think about avoiding that barroom discussion. Sure, on the weekends we can go to a cafe or a pub and have a drink of coffee or a beer and talk with friends or people around us, and we can make all these global statements in saying that Canadians are very polite, or Canadians drink a lot of coffee. But the way that we talk in a barroom discussion, in sense like Canadians drink a lot of coffee, is not particularly academic, because after all, not all Canadians drink a lot of coffee. But modifying and softening that statement in a way such as many Canadians drink a lot of coffee instantly becomes more academic, because we're using that language of probability. Okay? We can also use active or passive voice, and specifically passive voice, to remove the actor. And sometimes by removing the actor, we're focusing more on the actual process or the action. And again, we need to use modals here in the language of probability. For example, if you close the center, we will not be able to play sports. versus closing the center may result in the loss of accessibility to many local sports enthusiasts. Okay? Again, it's softening the tone. Let's take a look at an example of academic tone a little bit more in a little bit more focus. Let's take a look at this paragraph. Even though Canada has one of the highest standards of living, the people in the country are experiencing a strikingly high level of diet-related health problems. One of the main reasons for this is the type of food people consume. Due to the country's fast-paced lifestyle, people are consuming a lot of fast food. Because people make fast food with untested flavor-enhancing chemicals and high levels of fat, it leads to obesity and heart-related health problems. In addition, the methods people use to prepare food have also impacted the health of Canadians. Because people in Canada prepare their food with salt, people will have higher levels of cardiovascular disease and long-term weight problems. The most worrying issue, however, is that people are not educating children about healthy eating habits. When people are teaching children to eat unhealthy fast food through advertisements and school lunch menus, children ignore the healthy food advice that other people give them at home. Alright, let's take a look at a second example of pretty much the same paragraph. Even though Canada has one of the highest standards of living, the country is experiencing a strikingly high level of diet-related health problems. One of the main reasons for this is the type of food that is consumed. Due to the country's fast-paced lifestyle, a lot of fast food is being consumed. Because much of the fast food is made with untested flavor-enhancing chemicals and high levels of fat, it may lead to obesity and heart-related health problems. In addition, many of the methods used to prepare food have also impacted the health of Canadians. Because quite a lot of the Canadian food is prepared with salt, it may lead to higher levels of cardiovascular disease and long-term weight problems in Canada. The most worrying issue, however, is that children are rarely being educated about healthy eating habits. When children are taught to eat unhealthy fast food through advertisements and school lunch menus, children might ignore the healthy food advice that is given to them at home. So, just by listening to me and reading along, which did you think sounded more academic? The first paragraph or the second? Well, let's examine the first paragraph a little bit more closely and just look at samples of some of the sentences. In the first paragraph, we had a sentence that sounded as, due to the country's fast-paced lifestyles, people are consuming a lot of fast food. Versus in the second paragraph, we saw, due to the country's fast-paced lifestyles, a lot of fast food is being consumed. A lot of fast food is being consumed. Again, we can see a big difference. People are consuming a lot of fast food. This is a very global, general statement about people in Canada consuming a lot of fast food. But just getting rid of people, a lot of fast food is being consumed. It makes it sound a lot more academic because it sounds like more, it uses the language of probability instead of that fatalistic, this is all happening 100% of the time. Let's take a look at another example in the first paragraph. Because people make fast food with untested flavor-enhancing chemicals and high levels of fat, it leads to obesity and heart-related health problems. Again, we're reintroducing the topic of people. And again, if people aren't making fast food, who is? Well, obviously it's people. We can talk about machines or something, but this is a redundant subject, which is why using passive voice makes it less redundant, because much of the fast food is made. We're using the passive voice. Much of the fast food is made with untested flavor-enhancing chemicals and high levels of fat. It may lead to obesity and heart-related health problems. Right? So we've eliminated the people in this paragraph as well. But also, we're using those modals here. Because much of the fast food is made, it may lead to obesity. So we're using language of probability, which is why if you thought the second paragraph sounded more academic, you're absolutely right, right? So again, for Band 7, in order to avoid those generalizations and move to a Band 8 response for task response, and again, this is for task response 8 and above, okay, we have to avoid those generalizations. And the main keys to avoiding generalizations here are: do not use fake statistics, right? We may sometimes be tempted to use percentages or statistics in order to support a particular idea. But generally speaking, we should generally try to avoid such statistics because they're usually wrong, as we do not have access to any citation material during the course of the exam. We should also avoid logical fallacies by seeing two events happening at the same time with a causal relationship, a cause and effect relationship, or avoiding those global generalizations like oversimplifications. We should try to focus our paragraphs. And again, it all starts with the thesis statement. If your thesis statement has focused predictors, your topic sentences of each body paragraph will have focused topic sentences. And if your topic sentences in the paragraphs are focused, then your body paragraphs, the content, the ideas in your paragraphs will be focused as well. And again, use academic tone. Use the language of probability. So use those modals like might, could, may, right? Instead of just giving a global, fatalistic tone. So this was the end of the last part of our final module. And I certainly hope that you have enjoyed this course from Summerhill Online Academy, hosted by Efficient English. And if you have any questions, or if you would like to receive feedback from your IELTS Writing Task 2 and IELTS Writing Task 1, or receive private one-on-one consultation, visit us at summerhillonlineacademy.com and register for a free consultation. Thank you.